Israel's ground offensive in Gaza has intensified, with tanks backed up by airstrikes. Hamas says 8,000 Palestinians have been killed.
The United Nations fears civil order is starting to break down after Palestinians looted aid warehouses in Gaza. Ursula von der Leyen meets with Western Balkan leaders in a bid to speed up accession to the EU.
65 countries are discussing a peace formula for Ukraine in Malta. China didn't attend the summit and Russia wasn't invited. Shellfire and smoke in Gaza. The second phase of the war has been declared by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Israel's armoured columns have swept into the strip and it seems there's no turning back. Israel claims to have struck 450 Hamas targets, including command and control centres.
אנחנו מתקדמים בשלבי המלחמה על פי תוכנית. אנחנו מרחיבים בהדרגה את הפעילות הקרקעית ואת היקף הכוחות שלנו ברצועת עזה.
Hamas has hit back with its own videos. They say the pictures show its rockets being fired at Israel in what it describes as a response to the massacres against civilians. In Khan Yunis in the south of the Gaza Strip, they picked through the rubble of buildings bombed by Israel looking for survivors. The Hamas-controlled health ministry updated the death toll for Gaza on Sunday, saying more than 8,000 men, women and children have been killed in 3 weeks.
The World Food Programme has been warning of the catastrophic conditions Palestinians face as Israel's military campaign against Hamas enters a fourth week. It says severe fuel shortages in Gaza threaten to bring food and other humanitarian operations to a standstill. The UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees says civil order is starting to disintegrate. People have been breaking into aid warehouses and stealing food and essentials. In a post, the European Commission's crisis management chief said the depth of Palestinians' desperation is beyond words. The Red Cross has described scenes of chaos and exhaustion at hospitals in Gaza. It says they're fast running out of fuel and medical supplies and is urging Israel and Hamas to de-escalate the conflict. As the death toll continues to rise, cemeteries have become overcrowded. Here in the Nuseirat Palestinian refugee camp, dozens of bodies are being buried together in existing graves.
In Tel Aviv, families of some of the 230 hostages snatched on October the 7th. Hamas is now offering to swap civilian hostages for Palestinians jailed in Israel. As the Israeli Prime Minister met some of the families, his government dismissed the Hamas statement as a psychological terror tactic.
ככל שיגבר הלחץ הצבאי, ככל שתגבר עוצמת האש, וככל שנכה יותר קשה את החמאס, כך גדל הסיכוי להביא אותו למצב שבו יסכים להגיע לפתרונות שיאפשרו לנו את ההגעה אל יקיריכם, אל חברינו, יקירנו ואהובנו.
But far from seeing Benjamin Netanyahu and his ministers as saviours, many in Israel, including hostage families, blame their hardline posture towards Palestinians for precipitating the crisis.
European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has started a 4-day visit to the Western Balkans. It started in Skopje, where she met with President Stevo Penderovsky. North Macedonia, Kosovo, Montenegro, Serbia and Bosnia and Herzegovina are at different stages of integration into the European Union. Von der Leyen is meeting with the country's leaders to discuss a new growth plan that potentially opens parts of the bloc's single market to them. Bringing the Balkans into the fold has been a priority for the 27 member states since Russia's invasion of Ukraine last year.
Ukraine fighting for its sovereignty and territorial integrity and for our values. So let's work.
The EU plans to set aside €6 billion for investments and reforms in the 6 countries, including €4 billion in loans and €2 billion in subsidies. Access to the money is conditional. They have to reform their economies and political institutions, which includes tackling corruption and stamping out organised crime. Brussels has been trying to resolve a long-running dispute between candidates Kosovo and Serbia, whose relations have deteriorated since their war more than 20 years ago.
Delegates from 65 countries are in Malta for a two-day summit on Ukraine. It's the third meeting since Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky suggested a peace formula at the G20 in August 2022. Russia wasn't invited and China opted out. Topics included food, energy and nuclear security. It comes as Russia accused Ukraine of attacking Kursk nuclear power plant, pictured here in 1996, with drones. Russia said it shot them down, but claims a nuclear storage facility was damaged by debris. The International Atomic Energy Agency says it was informed and has checked radiation levels. In Ukraine, 7 people were injured when Russia shelled the Kherson region, while there have been reports of explosions in occupied Crimea. Ukraine claims some of its drones evaded Russian air defences.
The future of the Catholic Church, and in particular the place of women, is contained in a 42-page document. It was approved by Pope Francis and 365 members of the Assembly of Bishops after 4 weeks of deliberations at the Vatican. In his closing address, the Pope described the need to give women decision-making roles in the Church as urgent, but postponed further discussion until next October. They also discussed the ordination of married priests and treatment of LGBTQ members. Bulgarians have been voting for new mayors and municipal councillors in the first round of local elections. Exit polls indicate a second round of mayoral elections will be held in the capital Sofia and several other large cities next month. Voters will choose between the 2 candidates with the largest shares of the vote. This year's ballot has been marred by a controversial last-minute decision by the central election body to scrap machine voting. Thousands of people have rallied in central Madrid to protest against a proposed amnesty for those who joined a failed push for Catalan independence 6 years ago. Acting Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez proposed the pardon as he tries to secure another term in office. The Spanish Socialist Workers' Party leader needs the support of Catalan separatist parties, which are demanding the amnesty in exchange for backing him. Sánchez has less than a month to win enough votes.
A latter-day David and Goliath story pits the Frattasio brothers against Amazon. Born 60 years ago to a Naples family, they made up for a lack of education by turning their love of music into a thriving business.
Mixed by Harry.
In the 1980s, the Frattasio boys became unwitting mixtape moguls. Their brand, Mixed by Eri, became a household name in the city, churning out cassettes of pirated recordings of Italian and international artists. At the peak of their success, the Frattasios had 100 people working for them and sites for production and distribution across the city. They were selling more than 200,000 cassettes a week in Italy and abroad, all thanks to copyright legislation that was still absent in Naples.
Quando abbiamo iniziato, proprio queste leggi non esistevano, siccome stando in un quartiere come Forcella si facevano reati in tutte le maniere, quando a noi ci capitava e facevano un blitz e venivano in un nostro deposito che noi stavamo vendendo cassette, la polizia ci guardava e ci diceva: i fratelli Baieri, lasciali stare, sono dei bravi ragazzi, e se ne andavano.
Ogni mattina scendevamo con la fascia alla Rambo in fronte che non si vedeva ma ce l'avevamo. Vivevamo con l'area di chi vive a caso perché noi eravamo invisibili nel quartiere, un quartiere dove si fa contraffazione, droga, camorra, e eravamo gli ultimi del problema in quella zona.
È iniziato tutto da qui. Forse i più giovani non sanno neanche cosa sia questo oggetto, ma all'inizio degli anni '80 i fratelli Frattasio hanno creato un mercato parallelo che ha esportato musica in tutto il mondo. E non vi nascondo che anche io, quando ero più giovane, ho comprato alcune di queste cassette nelle bancarelle di Napoli.
After paying their dues with the law, the Fratasio brothers registered the Mixed by Eri brand in 2016. However, recently they found out Amazon had started selling clothing items with their brand on it without authorization. They contacted a lawyer.
Hanno un po', come si dice, peccato di presunzione, non so, di autorità su questa cosa. Vedremo. Io quello che voglio attendere chiaramente se la legge è uguale per tutti, perché noi per questo abbiamo pagato.
La prima cosa ci siamo detti fra di noi è il karma, no? Perché poi da pirati a piratati...
Enrico's dream was to be a DJ. Piracy was how it worked. The brand has become world famous, and as he told Luca Palomara from Euronews, his passion for music remains.
2, 1, go!
An international gathering for a contest of gathering. Some 12 teams from different countries have taken part in the World Olive Picking Championship in the Croatian village of Postira. The teams, composed of 4 pickers, each had 45 minutes to pluck as many olives as they could.
It's cool. I had no idea what to expect when we came here. It's cool to meet so people from so many different countries. It's just a different thing. Also, none of us ever thought we'd get to represent our country in the World Championships. I'm picking what I'm talking.
It's actually my first time here in Croatia. It is exciting, and I'm very happy to be here to support this project, which is beautiful. And now let's just concentrate on the olives.
Croatia won for the 4th year in a row, with their haul weighing over 48 kilos. Neighboring Montenegro came second. But there were honorable mentions for teams from Germany and Ireland, who did well despite having no tradition of olive growing in their countries.